right, fantastic. Well, I'm excited and I so appreciate you again reaching out and offering to present to IABC Charlotte. I was thrilled. I've been spreading the word about how you are always one of the top rated speakers at World Conference, always selected, always one of the top rated speakers at World Conference. So we're really fortunate to have you here to share your wisdom, your knowledge, your insights. And a little bit about you in terms of your areas of expertise. I love the alliteration. I'm all about alliteration too. So helping people gain clarity, confidence, and control with courage added in there because life is even more complex than ever. So we've got the 5 C's going on there. But Darcy is also a published author, and her book, the Bringing Your Superpower to Work, Your Guide to More Clarity, Confidence, and Control. It's been quoted by the Harvard Business Review, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, and Forbes, among others. And she's also working on her next book. I'm really excited about that, so we'll see how that goes. And her clients include the Coca-Cola Company, Microsoft, Wells Fargo, all the big players. So obviously, Darcy is well respected in the discipline that she brings to us today. So it is my pleasure to welcome Darcy Ellenberg to IABC Charlotte.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Diane. I appreciate you and all the IABC Charlotte members and all of your leadership and all the work that you're just doing for IABC in general at this time. So if you haven't popped into the chat yet, we will use the chat to be able to say hi, to ask questions. We will have time for questions throughout, and Diane's going to monitor the questions. So we will, Deb, if you will take Diane's video off so we make sure that in the recording we've got me there, and hopefully then we will move forward. So, okay. So you're here to think about planning what's next at a time when we're not really sure what to plan. And I don't know about you, but for many of us, this is what the year so far has kind of felt like. It's been a little bumpy. Or maybe for you, it's felt a little like this. I've had a lot of clients that as we move into September have just said, okay, I've had enough. When is this year going to end? Well, the good news is we're in the home stretch of 2020. But for a lot of us, the home stretch can feel a little like this. Like, this has been an uphill battle. Our work has gotten harder. Our lives have gotten harder. The world just seems like things are more difficult than they'd ever been. But I wanted to stop a minute and just reflect back that you're here right now, or you're watching on the replay, and you made a choice to spend some time for you, to spend some time to invest in yourself and to pay attention to you and how you can plan for the future and how you can have the future that you want, even when we don't know everything that's going to happen. And as we do that, before we dive into some of the strategies I want to share with you today, I want to mirror back something to you that you might not have realized. I want you to look at what you have done this year, what things have worked, what things are positive for you this year, because my bet is that you have learned something, you have accomplished something, you have done something. And feel free to chime in the chat and tell us what that is. If there's something that, something that you can be proud of this year, because the whole year wasn't a dumpster fire. I mean, you're the fire extinguisher to put it out in your life at work and in your life. You've accomplished more than I think you probably give yourself credit for. And for that, I think you deserve a round of applause. I want you just to pat yourself on the back, congratulate yourself, and just to recognize that you're here at exactly the right time. And not just the time of the webinar, but the time in our world. You're here at the right time for you and the skills that you bring. Because it's time to assess where we are and have that direction for what's next. It's time to really think hard about how can we stop listening to all the noise and take back control again, to feel like we're making the difference that we're meant to make, and not letting all of the world's issues cloud our judgment, cloud our focus. It's time for a revolution in how we believe in and talk about the world of work and our value in it, our place in it. So this is why I call my company Red Cape Revolution, because remember when you were a kid and you grabbed a towel or a sheet and you throw it around your shoulders and you felt confident, you felt in control. What if we could feel that way every day at work? What would change in our departments, in our companies, in our communities then? Well, I believe we can. And I believe that now is the perfect time, that we can't wait. It's the perfect time for us to bring our superpowers to work, to use what we will talk about today, to plan for what's next, even when things are uncertain. And I believe it's more important than ever, because the world needs you and what you bring to it. The world needs you now more than ever. And I'm so glad you're here. And as a thanks to you, one of the things that we'll be doing is we're going to give away what I call a power hour. And so what a power hour is just it's an hour of focused coaching with me. And in this power hour, it's totally confidential. What you'll do is be able to just have a sounding board, have the expertise of that, I've been able to bring based on talking to communication professionals, other leaders all over the country, and the opportunity for you to go deep onto something that's important for you. Now, if you'd like to be in the drawing for a power hour, here's all you do. You just take out your little mobile device and you text the word IABC 2020 to the number 44222. So it's just like you're texting to your mom. The number you're dialing is your mom. So it's 44222. And then the word in the message is IABC 2020. Then it'll ask you to put your email in, and that will enter you in the drawing. And we'll do a drawing from those who are here live today. We'll also pick anyone who comes in from the replay about a week later and be able to offer a power hour as just my thank you to you for being here today, for spending your time with me. So as we talk about planning, I've had questions, people say, well, what's your crystal ball? Like, what is the lens you're looking through? And I'll be honest with you, my crystal ball often lately has felt like it's filled with milk. It's really hard right now for us to see what we think is going to happen in the future. So in that process, though, what I found is that there are actions, there are core things that we can repeat, that we can use, that help us plan, that help us be able to look forward without having a crystal ball. And so we're going to dive into that now. And while we're going through it, I want to give you some opportunities to write some things down for yourself. So when we'll take a couple moments and I'll have a question after we talk about this action. And then you can take some notes, put it in the chat. Feel free at any time to put your question in the chat, a comment, a story, and we'll take that question and be able to answer it, but then you get to write down some things for yourself so that you can make the most of the investment of time that you're making here today. So the first action is to take back control. You know, I mentioned this word, and Diane mentioned this in the introduction, this word control. What do we mean by taking back control? Well, I feel like so many of us lately in this since the pandemic started have been operating in this frenzied sense of everything's wrong, everything's bad, everything's broken. And when we're operating out of that sense of fear and frenzy, we can never really focus. We can never really move forward. Instead, one of the core strategies we need now more than ever is to really learn about how we can stay focused, how we can be cool, calm, and collected, how we can know that there's lots of things happening around us, know there's lots of frenzy around us, but to really be centered on the things that are most important to us, the things that matter to us. So how do we do that? If we want to take back control, we have to remember that there are only 3 things that we control. And this isn't just now, this is always. We have always only controlled these 3 things. And here's what they are. First, we control everything we do. The actions we take, the places we move our bodies, the work that we create, we control everything we do. And we also control, which is important in these overwhelmed, busy times, the things we don't do, the choices we make about what balls to drop, what things not to do. We also then control everything we say, where we speak up, where we speak out. We control the things that come out of our mouths. Sometimes, and we may all know people who it feels like they don't control it, but this is something we control, and we can learn to control better and use more strategically to get the things that we want to move us forward in the future. And then finally, you control everything you think. This is the tougher one for most of us, that the brain is supposedly having 60,000 different thoughts a day. Now, I don't know how anybody counts that, to be perfectly honest, but just think about your own thoughts, what's running through your mind right now. You get to choose. You get to choose the things you think. When faced with a negative thought versus a positive thought, you can intentionally choose the positive thought, because the positive thoughts move you forward. The negative thoughts often pull you back. We'll talk a little bit more about this, but that's it. When it comes to taking back control, that's all there is. So you don't control what's happening in the economy. You don't control whether they're gonna hire you or not. You don't control what is happening in your profession. You control what you do, what you say, and what you think. And once you recognize those and work to take back control of those things, and to not hand over your thoughts to somebody else, to not speak up because you're afraid of what somebody else might think. When you start to control those 3 elements, you start to move forward and have a much stronger focus for the future. I love this quote by the late author Wayne Dyer. It's who says, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. How do you need to change the way you are looking at what you do, what you say, what you think? When you make those changes, what else could change as you plan for the future? So right now, as I mentioned, I want to give you a little bit of time, just a little, like we're going to do some sprints. I want you to take out a device, take out some paper, just something, and we're going to just do 30 seconds. You have 30 seconds to answer, and you feel free to answer it in the chat if you want everybody to see it. You're welcome to do that. The biggest place I can take back control right now is. So answer that question. Use this time to get something focused from your investment in the time. The biggest place I can take back control is. We've got 30 seconds rolling on the clock. Just about 15 more seconds. Where do you need to take back control? What's the one thing that you need to do? Okay, and that's time. Yes, Diane says, my mind, often, yes, our minds can go to that negative place. I have clients in California who are not only battling with pandemic and shutdowns, but also with the fires right now. And trying to figure out, how do I stay focused on what's most important to me? How do I take back control? And even to be able to plan for what might be happening around me. You know, how do I not get frozen and not make good decisions? And how do I make the best decisions for me? So knowing where you can take back control, if it's your thoughts, then that's a place you can focus on that helps you be able to plan for what's next, even though we can't predict everything that's going to happen next. So great. So we'll do a couple more of these sprints through some of the actions as we go forward. So please, in a little bit, we'll stop and take questions. So if you have questions, pop them into the chat, and I'll take any questions you have, and they don't have to be on exactly what we're talking about. If you have questions about your career or something else happening in your work, or how you're trying to take back control, love to hear those too. Okay, the second action, reset, repair, or reframe your work. This goes for whether your work is, whether you have working for somebody else, working in a traditional company, working for yourself as an independent, or whether you're looking for work. And here's something that I've been seeing lately, just to share with you. So during, much of the pandemic, there'd been this little halo over communication. Early on, a lot of leaders who maybe weren't considered to be great communication people or communicators, all of a sudden came out of nowhere, and we're on this together and in these unprecedented times, and every cliche you can throw at it, right? And some of the cliches. And the demand for communication, the hunger for people to stay connected and to know what's going on, and to not only have information, but to have care and empathy was huge. And in some places, this boded well for professional communicators. But in other places, it made me worried about a trend that I've been seeing for a while. And the trend is this, that often communication has been seen as a commodity, has been seen as the same as that one person who's a communicator is the same as the next, or one message is the same as the next message, or one tool is the same as the next tool, seeing it as a commodity. And when you're a commodity, you're you're replaceable, you're outsourceable, you aren't unique, you don't stand out, you don't make an impact. And that worries me for professional communicators, because when other people see you as just like all the rest, it devalues you, it lessens your impact, it lessens your ability to ask for what you need, to negotiate for what you want. Excuse me. You are not a commodity. But it's a good time, as we're in the state of communication professionals being perceived as commodities, and communication being seen as something that's all the same. Where are you today? Are you in that commodity zone? Are you in the commodity zone of just being you're creating information, you're a cost center, you're a specialist, you're just something that's narrow that could be replaceable? Or are you on the other side? Are you the high value business expert? Are you the person who's influencing? Are you the person who's getting things moving? Are you the initiator? You might think about, where are you being seen as a commodity? And often, here's the challenge that I coach a lot of communication professionals on. They know that what they do is distinct and has value and is targeted toward a particular message, audience, a purpose, a goal. But their internal customers don't always know that. They think a letter is just a letter is just a letter, or a video is just a video is just a video. You know better. So if you are feeling that somebody, some team, something in your life is treating you as a commodity, this is time to press the reset button. I call this a red cape reset. So what are the things you can reset? A changing time is the perfect time to do a reset. You can reset a relationship, or perhaps a process that's broken. Maybe it's deliverables or expectations. I have a lot of clients right now that are resetting expectations based on expanded capacities by people who've been laid off, and they're not going to let themselves be the sponge and just do more and more and more. They're going to reset those expectations. There is something in your life as you are planning for what's next that you need to reset now, that you need to bring back to where it needs to be, that you need to be in control of. So maybe one of these things is something that you need to reset. So how do you do it? Well, I've got a magic wand, or maybe they're magic words. So here's what you do. You have the conversation with the person who's impacted the most. Maybe it's your boss, maybe it's a colleague, maybe it's a client, maybe it's your spouse. And this opening statement is, all of this change has made me think about X, the thing you want to reset. And so I'd like to talk to you about moving from X to Y, the future state that you want. So it may be that all this change is maybe think about the overall workload and how our team can be successful. So I'd like to talk to you about moving from the current state of our team being overloaded to a new state where we have a balanced priorities and a balanced team. So starting the conversation for the reset, this is the perfect time to do it. And often I think people feel like they're stuck in the situation that they have, especially during a time of great change, during crisis. I mean, I don't know about you, but I hear all the time people saying, well, I have to wait until the president retires, or I have to wait until the merger gets approved. But what happens when you wait is that these things never get reset. They never get put back to rights. We get the chance to teach people how to treat us. We get the chance to take control over what our situation is, and to, at a minimum, control what we say and ask for the new situation. And believe me, during times of change, you've got two choices. You can choose chaos. You can say, yep, it's all chaos and I'm just going to live with chaos. Or you can choose creativity. You can choose to offer a different point of view. You can choose to create a different perspective. You get to choose that. So how about you? For the work that we're doing, let's get that 30-second timer out again. And your pen, pencil, your phone, whatever you write down, what's the one thing that you need to reset, repair, or reframe in your life at work right now? Take 30 seconds and just jot something down, and feel free to put it in the chat if you want, or write it for yourself personally. What's the one thing that you need to reset? as you're writing things down, I've heard people answer this question lately with they need to reset their time frames that they're working, that if they're working remotely, that and it just happens to be at home, that they have to have a start and stop time. They have to have breaks. I've heard other people especially reset relationships that worked one way when we were in person in the office may now need to work differently in a more remote environment. What's the one thing you need to reset, repair, or reframe right now? Okay, that's time. I hope you got something that you can act on, but I just want to take a break, have just a sip of water, and then open up to Diane if anybody has any questions. So Deb, we can put Diane's audio back on, and I don't see any questions in the chat, but if you do have questions in the chat, please ask them. And let's see, do we have Diane's audio back on?
Yay, I'm back.
Okay, great. So Dan, I don't see questions in the chat, but I don't know if anything's coming into you.
I'm curious, Darcy, about what you are hearing in terms of goal setting for clients you're working with. How are they transitioning their approach to meeting their goals? Are they resetting their goals? I know some colleagues, friends who actually have taken this whole COVID tsunami and completely changed the way they think about their career right now. And in fact, are ready to leave their career and move into what has been an avocation for them, something that they're passionate about as a hobby, so to speak. And it's pretty enlightening to see that happening. I think it's a real positive thing because we've been forced, as you say, to take time to reset and review and think about what our priorities are right now. And sometimes our priorities aren't really what we thought they were.
Right. I think this whole time, as in any change, whether it's a macro change like what we're going through now, or for those of us who are old enough to experience the recession in 2008, 2009, or whether it's a minor change, a micro change, like celebrating a big birthday, or someone close to us who's experienced an illness, or our firm being purchased, or our boss changing. Any of those changes, I always think of those as catalysts. And it is human nature that any catalyst will start people thinking about, what does this mean for me? And does it mean what I want? And yes, I definitely have seen an increase in people who want to do the work, need to do the work to get clear about, so what do they want now? And it is, in many ways, it's a wake-up call. I think companies are going through this as well. When we see the pattern of the same company that might be downsizing is also hiring, what's happening there is companies right-sizing for who they want to be, or right skilling for what they want to be. So I think it also creates opportunities, especially for professional communicators who can adapt in different situations. But absolutely, is there a shift going on? And I think it's important for everybody to ask themselves, is what I'm doing serving who I am, and where I call it my superpowers, and who am I at my very best when I'm in my superpower space? Is this serving me? And if it's not, to not listen to all the noise that says, oh, you should just put your head down and be happy, or you should be thankful to have a job. It's like, we can certainly be grateful to be employed, to have a job, to have a level of income. And it doesn't mean that it's an either or proposition. To be able to say, and I'm starting to feel that there's something else for me, and doing the work for that, to me, often that is also an antidote to, if you're not fully happy in what you're doing, to take back control, to say, you know what, I'll do what I'm doing, but I'm going to start to allow myself to explore this other thing. And it often starts with just having conversations with people who are doing it. You know, I think in our culture, we often over glamorize major change. We write stories in magazines that tell a story about, oh, well, she used to be a Wall Street banker and now she's a goat farmer. And, it's 500 words and it makes it sound like all she did one day is decide, I've had enough with Wall Street. I'm going to go off to Vermont. But that's not how real life works. And, I often walk my clients through a process where if there is a start of a change, often my clients don't know what the destination is. So let me go back to your first question and then we'll move on. So goals then. I think people make a mistake with goals is they make their goals about a thing and not about a being, like the experience. And so as you're setting goals and we're planning for what's next, I would always say, think about the experiences that you want and what forward motion looks like for you. Because people get stuck with, well, I don't know what job is right for me. And for most people that I work with and people in IBC communities and other communication and marketing, it's not going to be about the job. It's about the people. It's about the impact. It's about the culture. It's about the experience and getting clear on that and having my goals be measured by those things. Like, am I creating those experiences for myself? Am I putting myself in places to work with the kinds of people that I want to work with? To me, in an era where there's nothing that's certain, which honestly, we've always lived in that era. We've just become more aware of it now. That's setting your goals as what gets me in forward motion, what's the experiences that I want to have. And we're going to talk a little bit about vision in a minute too. So
that
that helps. Great.
Yeah, it's all about finding purpose, and that's the thing I'm optimistic about in terms of corporate and company perspectives being changed about putting purpose and people before profits. I have a saying that if you make people and purpose your priorities, profits will follow.
Right. And those of us, as professional communicators, we can magnify that now by, and I would say, not putting profits to the back, but being able to better connect how they all work together and using real examples, to be able to, this is a good reset. It's like, in this meeting, we're always talking about the numbers, and I'd like to suggest that we talk about what's behind what has led to the numbers, to give a better picture. So, meaning what the people choices, what the processes are, telling that broader story, and that's something that as communicators we do really, really well. So, great. Thanks for the question. If anybody else has a question, feel free to pop it into the chat, and we'll ask some, and we will take time for any other questions at the end as we wrap up. So let's go back and dive into the third action. So we had the action about taking back control, and then we have the action about resetting and reframing. A relationship, a process, a boundary, something that needs to change for you, that you need to be proactive and ask for. The third action, as we're thinking about planning and tied to the conversation we were just having, might surprise you. But increasingly, when the world seems overwhelming and complex, we need to narrow our vision. And so what do I mean by that? It sounds so contradictory to narrow our vision, because a lot of times people talk about, we should have a big vision, or we need to be blue sky. Or I had a client just earlier this morning say, oh, if I had a clean sheet of paper, that's what I would do. But here's the challenge with that. And we're also not talking about vision like this, fake-a-majiggy kind of vision statement that might be on an annual report somewhere, but mean nothing and make no sense. In a time of change, whether it's your personal change in your life, whether it's in your business, your company, or whether it's global change, when we narrow our vision, we can take a closer look at what we're doing, what we want to experience, what we want to feel, and how will we know what success is on our terms. So we're actually going to do this together. So again, I'm going to give you the opportunity to do a little sprint, but I want to put a parameter on it. I want you to, right now, as we narrow our vision instead of widen our vision, think about the next 100 days. Just 100 days. Now, 100 days roughly, it's not perfect math, will be the end of this year. That long-awaited end of this year. So in 100 days, that's a manageable piece of time, right? That's a manageable slot. Because when we start talking about my 3-year plan or my 5-year plan, I have companies that I work with that have abandoned the 5 and 10-year plan. I only have the one company that keeps a 10-year plan, and that's because they're in pharmaceuticals and they have to make investments now that they have to live with for 10 years. But truthfully, more and more of us are doing short-term planning, more sprints. And on our own level, for our own careers, I think it's important for us to look at things not in that long-term, what's my quote-unquote goal over a year from now, but what's this short-term sprint? So in 100 days, we're going to have something that you want from that time. And to get there, I want to share with you my fast future formula. So here it is. I'll tell you what it is, and then we'll show some examples of it. I verb the noun to get the result. I verb the noun to get the result. I love talking to communication professionals because they get what a verb is, they get what a noun is, and they also definitely get what a result is. But this fast future formula allows you to set, we'll call it a goal, but it's really an experience that's active, that you can know when you have it, that's tangible. It's also visible. So here's a couple examples here. I reset my boss's expectations so that I right-sized my workload. So that's a verb, reset, expectations is a noun, and then right-sizing my workload, that's the result. I know that's something that a lot of people are working on doing right now, resetting those expectations. I expanded my network so that I increased my connection to my community. Verb, noun, result. You get to create one of these for yourself in 100 days. What's the verb that you'll noun, the noun that you'll verb to get to the result? This keeps your vision visible. This one statement, this single thing that you have for yourself, that you create for your short-term future, helps you plan every day. Because by having this thing that you want, you get to make a better choice. You get to look at it today and say, great, I only control 3 things. If I want in 100 days to right-size my workload, reset the expectations, what do I need to do on that today? What is visible for me today? So, how about you? 100 days from now, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, roundabouts there, holiday time, end of year time. What will you be proud of? What will you be proud that you verbed the noun to get what result? Okay, let's just take that 30 seconds again, and feel free to pipe it in the chat if you want, or write it down on your own, or take a screenshot if you want. Because this one powerful sentence that you can complete can help guide your planning for the next period of time. And then in 100 days, you can do it again. And then you can do it again. And I think increasingly during times of change, this is the stronger way for us to plan for what we want, for what's the experience that we want. What will we be proud of? What's going to make us feel like we are in our superpower space? So I just start the timer here. So write yours down, 30 seconds. Also, if you have questions, we're going to be taking some more questions in a minute. And so you can go ahead and put them into the chat. And 100 days from now, I'll be proud that I verbed the noun to get a results. Okay. All right. That's time. Did you have something that you know you need to verb the noun to get the results? Something that you really want as we think about this last home stretch, this last part of the year to end the year strong, no matter how strong or weak or indifferent you feel right now. 2020 is not a wash. You're in it. You're doing things right now. You're accomplishing more than you know. Heck, you're experiencing one of the most fascinating times that our planet has ever had. There's something in there for you. So what's the action you're going to take now? Are you going to take back control? Maybe work on taking back control of what you think and not letting all the noise get to you. Maybe it's you're going to do something differently. Maybe say no to something. We have some other tools about scripts to say no, how to renegotiate your workload. We're coming up at the end of the year. If you've been somebody who you have gone over and above this year, how do you ask for more pay in a time when it feels like everybody's being so cost-centric? You can. There's ways to do that. What's the action you need? What do you need to reset? Is there a process that you now know is broken? Is there a relationship that you really want to fix, improve? There's an action. And here's one action before we open up to any questions that are there and end our time together today, that as a thanks for you, I want to give away a power hour of coaching. And this, we can go deeper on any of the topics that have come up for you. Maybe there's something that you wrote in the, I verbed the noun to get the result that you're like, great, I need some help in figuring out how to do that. All you need to do to be in that drawing is to text the words IABC 2020 to the number 44222. Put your email in, you'll get an email from me, and then we will do that drawing later today. So, and then watching the replay, we have some replay entries. We'll do it again in a week. So you hear live, you actually get a little bonus. So let's take a minute. Actually, you know what? Let me wrap up with a story and then we'll go to more questions. And so any questions, if you have questions, put them in the chat, or Diane, if there's questions that are coming into you, we'll go from there. But just a couple more words before we wrap up my talk for today. I wish that I had the magic wand. I wish that I had the magic button that would make everything okay, that make everybody's job secure, and that job is a happy one where they feel like they're making an impact, where they feel like they're bringing their superpowers to work. I don't claim to have that button. I don't claim to have all the answers. But what I do know from the work that I do, from the people that I serve, is that the worst thing that you can do for yourself is just to pull back, to hide, to wait. You need to take control, to take back that control. So don't wait to plan for what's next. Don't wait for other people to decide, to figure stuff out. you've got that power. You've got the tools. And now you have some additional tools that you can take action, that you can reset what's going on, that you can take back control. This is what you're going to need through the end of the year and going into 2021. And it's more important than ever, because it's not just for your job or your clients or your customers or your internal customers or clients. It's not just for your community or your company. We need you in our world to bring your superpowers to work, to do the work you're meant to do. The world needs you now more than ever. And I'm so glad that you've been with us today. Thank you for being part of IABC. I'm going to hand it back to Diane for any last words, questions, and again, I'm happy to answer any questions that you have about the world of work or anything that's happening for you. So we'll take Diane off mute again, and Diane, back to you.
Thank you, Darcy. That was wonderful. So in terms of maybe shedding some light around how, back to purpose, how individuals can move forward to finding their true purpose. How can they, where can they dig in, so to speak, in terms of a process to help them find their purpose now that the world needs us now more than ever, right?
Yeah. So the word purpose, I kind of have the same taste in my mouth as the word passion, that I think they get overused. And I think that we put a lot of pressure on ourselves for what is my purpose? What is my passion? I don't know. And instead, I often think about and work with my clients on focusing on who is it that I want to serve? Like, who are the people that what I like to do, the things that I am really good at in my superpower space, who is it serving? And there's never right or wrong in this, but getting clear on the people, because one of the things, every job is about problems that people are having. Every role is about pain that's happening for some kind of people. So thinking about what is that, what is that audience? What are the people that I want to be working with? I often think the people can give us clues to resetting our direction, reprioritizing where we're spending our time. And then beyond the people, then I think thinking about, where am I curious? Elizabeth Gilbert, in her book, Big Magic, and you may know Elizabeth Gilbert, the author, 10, 12 years ago, wrote Eat, Pray, Love, and she's since done a lot of different types of books. But this book is really around creativity, and I recommend it if you're somebody who wants to dig more into creativity. But she talks about when you are looking for any kind of change, or you're hearing that, listening to the whispers, you're hearing that next voice, to follow your curiosity as opposed to trying to find your passion. Because the things we're curious about, the things we're interested to learn more about, they're pulling us, as opposed to saying, oh, well, someone with my education or my experience, I should want to do X. Those things are pushes. But the curiosity, when we're curious about something, when we really are interested in, how does this work? And who does that? And what does that really look like on the inside? That is so much more motivating. It opens up all sorts of possibilities. And in the end, it just becomes fun. I had a client that really resisted her curiosity about interior design. And she was a high-tech consulting, strategic consultant. And there was a part of her, the voice in her head, these little saboteurs that we have, kept saying to her, somebody like you, it could never work in interior design. That's for other people. But she recognized, and through our work together, she really decided that I'm really curious about that. And there's nothing wrong with following your curiosity. But her curiosity led her to learning more and more about what the roles were, about what the businesses were. And believe me, in any field, there's so much than just the one, like you can be in interior design and not be an interior designer. And it helps us unpack to really go deeper. But it was fun for her then to go and talk to more people, which, you know, the nasty word for that is networking. But networking is just talking to people, building relationships. It was fun for her to learn more, and it opened her eyes to possibilities that she didn't know existed. So I would say follow your curiosity and think about the people you want to be around. Those are first places where I would get started. If you are listening to the whispers and hearing that little voice inside that says, yeah, this isn't all there is. There's something else out there for me.
Mm-hmm. Right. So, exactly.
Yeah.
What's the impact we want to have, kind of thing.
Well, and you can use the short-term vision, the 100 days. And I like to have particular markers, you know, holidays or a birthday, or because we don't always know when 100 days is, but same now and the end of the year, what's the verb, you know, the verb to the noun to get the result. What is it I want to do to get the thing that creates the result? Right. So yeah, those are all tools that you can use.
Yeah.
So.
No, that's great. That's fantastic.
Okay.
Well, anyone else have questions, comments, feedback?
If not, we'll wrap up. But again, you know how to reach me. You can reach me at redcaperevolution.com. And also, when you join my insider community, which is I write every week and we share tips and short stories and just little strategies that kind of keep you grounded and keep you focused in the new world of work. My insiders can also sign up for coaching chat at askdarcy.com. And if you're in the drawing, we'll invite you to be part of the insiders as well. And so look for more from me if you've entered the drawing. And I always look forward to keeping in touch with any of my IABC colleagues. I've been an IABC member for over 20 years, started my career in professional communication, and still used those skills and used what I've learned and the colleagues that I've met along the way continually in my business now, and expect to in the future as well.
Absolutely. You and I are in the 20-year club. We should start a subcommittee. And from Jim Burke, thanks, Jim. He says, very inspirational. Thanks, Darcy.
Thank you, Jim. Glad you were here. Thanks all for your help.
Absolutely. So great to see you. Thank you, everyone, for attending. And we'll be in touch with the program for next month as soon as possible.